Fox Sports.
We are Black Horse. We are Florida.
For 7 years, Hanley Ramirez was dynamic, enigmatic, and at times controversial. This morning, the Marlins traded their one-time cornerstone to Los Angeles. This afternoon, life without Hanley begins. The Marlins turn the page and face the Braves next. Wednesday afternoon in Miami. The beat goes on. It's a Wednesday showdown brought to you by Kendall Toyota and West Kendall Toyota. The Braves at 53 and 44. The Marlins back 7 under. The finale of a 3-game series. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. Marlins are going to play the Braves, but that's not the headline. And the big news here, the Marlins have traded Hanley Ramirez to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a pair of arms. A lot of reaction, I think, for the ball club and for many people around the ball club. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when, and that when was this morning.
Yeah, it was this morning, Rich. If you think about it, a couple of years ago, the win would have been a little bit better with the way Hanley was playing. But I just got thinking, all of a sudden, Hanley's going to be in Hanleywood, and you wish him the best with the Los Angeles Dodgers, along with Randy Choate, who will certainly help their bullpen. Hanley will be playing shortstop, by the way. Nathan Eovaldi, a right-handed pitcher. We've talked to scouts. He's got a good arm, a solid fastball, very solid, with a good curveball. He'll pitch Saturday against the San Diego Padres. I think the time had come for Hanley. The culture is needed to be changed, and that's what Ozzie has talked about, changing the culture not only on the field but in the clubhouse.
Be interested to see how the ball club reacts on the field. They're down a man, obviously, in terms of third baseman, but does this lift a burden off of them?
I think on a lot of guys it will. Most of the guys politically correctly will say in the clubhouse it was a move that had to be made, but I think it's a move that it will take a burden off their shoulder, and we'll see Solano and Dobbs platoon at third base.
We're going to see it right now because the Marlins playing the Braves right now. Here's your pitching matchup in this ballgame. You got veteran right-handers Tommy Hanson and Ricky Nolasco.
Well, I tell you what, Tommy Hanson, last 2 starts, has given up 14 runs. He has not pitched well. He's a solid starter, though. Ricky Nolasco has had his ups and downs against the Atlanta Braves.
So there you go. It's Nolasco, it's Hanson, it's the Marlins minus Hanley Ramirez. How do they react? Thoughts on the trade when we return. Finale of a 3-game series, Miami and Atlanta. Marlins and Braves getting ready to go as the Marlins try to get this series, and they'll try to do it, obviously, without Hanley Ramirez. Let's head out to Craig Minervini and Cliff Floyd. Gentlemen.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. The big story, yes, Hanley Ramirez traded to the Dodgers. Just your first reaction?
Well, first reaction is wow. But I think this is something that for both sides that needed to be done. And, hopefully for Hanley, he gets it together. It's a wake-up call, and hopefully for the Marlins, this trade ends up getting them some pitching depth that's going to be here for a long time.
No tears, but it was indeed an emotional press conference for Hanley Ramirez earlier today.
It's hard to believe, yeah. It's hard to believe that. Believe me or not, from the bottom of my heart. Last night I couldn't sleep. Knowing that I was going to leave Miami. It's going to be over my home, I was going to go home. But it's not the same.
Ramirez had some big numbers here starting off, and in that first group of years, a Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Star, the 313. What struggled and what caused him to be traded is the right side of that graphic.
Yeah, well, you look at the left side, you go, that's what you look for the long, for the tenure of his career, because that's the type of player that you expect Hanley to be. But when you get to the right side, you start to question where he's going or what's happening. You can say injury. Let's forget the money part of this, because once you get the money, all that does is make your life easier. But then it comes to playing and what you can do on the field continuously, and it can help your ball club win a ball game. How can you be a leader every single day? That's the one thing that was lost. And when you start thinking about those things, or you have to think about those things, then you have the problem that the Marlins had with, do we trade them and do we not trade them? And they chose to trade.
Well, you do bring up an issue for another day. Did the money at all change Hanley Ramirez's hunger at the plate? Much more ahead. We've got Game 3 of this series against the Atlanta Braves. It's the Miami Marlins trying to win a series. By the way, we'll see Hanley back right here August 10th with the Dodgers. Ball game coming up.
Wednesday showdown, afternoon baseball in Miami, the Braves and the Marlins. As Michael Bourne stands in, Ricky Nolasco is ready to roll. Pinch-A-Penny brings you the first pitch. Marlins try to win this series. The Braves a one-run win last night. Bourne flips one foul and out of play. 4-3 Atlanta won last night. The Fish a 2-1 winner in game one. And Ricky Nolasco makes start number 20.
Last time against Atlanta back in May, gave up 7 hits and 4 runs in 4 innings. Freddie Freeman took him deep.
Nolasco's last 2 starts were not his best. He had been on a nice roll since. And one thing to watch with Ricky is velocity. Is he up in the 90-91? That's something that he and Randy St. Clair have really worked hard on.
It's really interesting. You think of Ricky Nolasco and Carlos Zambrano. They need to be in that low 90s range as opposed to 87, 88. But Ricky has had some tremendous moments against the Atlanta Braves. That 16 strikeout game back in 09. In 2010, an 11 strikeout game.
Of course, that game in 09, he came 1 short of the Major League record for consecutive strikeouts. And that was set by Tom Seaver against the Padres. 2-2 pitch coming to Bourne. Braves line up a little different in this ball game. You got Bourne in center field. You get an off day for Dan Uggla, an off day for Chipper Jones. So Prado is going to play second. Hayward's in right. Brian McCann will do the catching. Freddie Freeman at first. Juan Francisco gets a start at third. You got Constanza, Paul Janisch, and then Hansen. And Nolasco with a fastball strikes out Michael Bourne. So Ricky punches out Bourne. Life without Hanley starts with Donovan Solano, I guess, at third base.
Yeah, we'll give you the defense brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida. There's the outfield, Lomo, Ruggiano, and Brian Peterson with the start today in right field. Solano and Dobbs will get some playing time at third. Reyes and Bonifacio pretty much solidified up the middle. El Caballo at first, and Brett Hayes starting this afternoon game.
Martin Prado now finds himself back at second base.
I'll tell you another thing, Rich, and obviously as the game goes on, we'll talk a lot about moves the Marlins have made, not only with the Tigers, but the move most recently with Hanley going to the Dodgers. When trades are made, I think it's a wake-up call for everybody else on the ball club. Not necessarily Ozzie, but he knows what type of club he wants. Ozzie wants to put this club out on the field that's his club. And I think when you have trades like we've seen the last few days, it's a wake-up call for everybody else.
It'll be interesting to see how the ball club reacts today and with the weekend series against the Padres. Here's the 2-1 pitch. It's up, especially considering that Nathan Eovaldi will be starting for the Marlins on Saturday against the Padres. So the Marlins are going to plug Eovaldi right into the rotation. Here's a 3-1 pitch. Line to center. Ruggiano in. Now back. And he reaches up and he makes the catch. Is it just me, or has Ruggiano made about 5 of those catches over the last 3 ball games?
Well, even if it's only 4, it doesn't matter. But he's made some great plays. We're going to show you some. I mean, he's played terrific defense, be it right field or center field. He was able to chase down a Chipper Jones ball, go into the gap, make it look easy. This ball was hit really well by Michael Bourne on the warning track, over the shoulder, with a quick Loviste. So, yes, Rich, it's not just you. He's been able to do that.
Prado lines out. Here's Hayward. X's and O's why the Marlins are down a couple of players. So they enter this ball game with a roster of 23 guys. No Hanley Ramirez, no Randy Choate.
Now, the interesting thing, we saw Wade LeBlanc come out of the bullpen last night. He's back in the bullpen because he was scheduled to pitch Saturday. So now it's going to be Zambrano, Eovaldi, and JJ in that series against San Diego.
Bonifacio races in and makes the play at first base. Hayward is out. Marlins coming up. A 1-2-3 first for Ricky Nolasco. And Marlins just underway. Marlins coming to the plate against Tommy Hanson, the right-hander for Atlanta. Here's the Fish lineup. Without Hanley Ramirez, Jose Reyes leads it off. And Donovan Solano, who has swung the bat well this year, gets the start at third base, hits second. Carlos Lee at first. Logan Morrison in left field. Justin Ruggiano is in center. Emilio Bonifacio at second. Brian Peterson in right. Brett Hayes, the catcher. And Ricky Nolasco hits ninth. There's a look at Tommy Hanson.
You know, overall, the numbers are pretty good with that 10-5 mark. But, boy, his last two starts, he's gone 9 1/3 innings total, giving up 17 hits and 14 runs.
Reyes leads it off. Shortens the bunt, takes a fastball up. The Marlins have bunted successfully in this series. Juan Francisco is at third base. Chipper Jones getting the day off. Reyes with a count 1-0. Donovan Solano, Carlos Lee will follow Hanson. Bounces that one in the dirt. Both starters are coming off uneven starts in their last two. Hanson has given up a few more runs than Nolasco has. As Tommy pointed out, 14 runs in his last two starts. There's a strike. Home plate umpire Mike Estabrook. Tim Welke at first. Paul Schreiber's out at second. And Laz Diaz is at third.
Yeah, last start against the Nationals. The start before for Hanson against the Mets.
2-1. It's out. The ERA in July for Hanson is sky high, 8.10. He walked 4 his last time out, and that one catches the inside corner. So Reyes has seen 5 pitches. Solano to follow. Brian McCann back behind the plate for the Braves, and Reyes lines it into right center field. That's a base hit into the gap. On his way to second. Reyes is in there with a double. Thirteen straight now for Reyes.
I tell you what, I think a little bit of a load has been lifted off the shoulders of Jose Reyes with Hanley Ramirez on his way to Los Angeles. I think Jose always felt he had a little babysitting to do, keeping an eye on him at third base, in the clubhouse. I think it's going to change, and I think you'll see a revitalized Jose Reyes.
Now Solano with Reyes at second, and Hanson to the plate. Check swing. Did not go. The count's 1-0.
13-game hitting streak now for Reyes. It continues. He's also 6 for 14 against Tommy Hanson.
5 hits in this series for Reyes. Be a nice shot in the arm if the Marlins can get him over and get him in this first inning. Solano very good at driving the ball to the right side. And Hanson misses away. And right away, this does not look like the Tommy Hanson that the Marlins have seen. He's been brilliant against Miami with an ERA of 2.5 and a 5-2 record in 9 starts.
Yeah, this is the first time the Marlins are seeing Hanson this year. But yeah, in the past, he's been terrific.
He's way outside on Solano. And McCann is on his way out to the mound to talk to the big right-hander. Hanson at 25. Braves defensively line up this way.
Check on the defense, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida, with Constanza, Bourne, and Hayward. A lot of speed in the outfield. Juan Francisco, Yanish on the left side, Prado and Freeman, McCann behind the plate.
.30 pitch, right down the middle.
And right now he's got to come with another fastball to Solano on a 3-1 pitch.
For now, it'll be Donovan Solano and some Greg Dobbs at third base. Solano getting the start this afternoon. Here's the 3-1. Breaking ball. That's a strike.
And that's a surprise. That's certainly with a hitter like Solano, a rookie, young kid, with the bigger boppers behind, you really don't expect a breaking ball there.
First one he's thrown all day. 3-2. Another breaking ball. Solano was on this one.
He was on it, and he was still trying to hit a ball the other way, even with 2 strikes.
So 2 straight breaking balls. Reyes still out at second base. Hansen ready. Fastball struck him out. 92 miles an hour, and he gets it by Solano.
Elevated that fastball very well. Coventry Healthcare brings you the scouting report on Tommy Hansen. Very aggressive on the mound, late bite to that slider. If you're at first base, we'll look for the Marlins to run. He is slow to the plate with his delivery.
Now Carlos Lee. And I think with the trade of Hanley Ramirez, as the Marlins try to restructure their team, Lee is an interesting piece. Because the ball club projects Logan Morrison, or if he gets hot and comes back, Gabby Sanchez, but more likely Morrison at first base in the future. And if the future starts now, it'll be interesting to see. Reyes is running on the pitch. McCann's throw. He's in there.
Good job. And especially a good job because they were paying attention to Jose Reyes. Couple of looks by Hansen. But a great jump. And at a point in time when you want him to be at third base after the strikeout of Solano. So Reyes gets over there quickly. Infield will stay back, and that allows Carlos Lee to pick up a run.
Hansen's breaking ball misses outside. It's a ball and a strike. 12 of 20, 60%. Major league average is right around 50%. And the infield's deep, so a ground ball produces this run. Hansen checks Reyes. And he misses outside. 2-1. And the impact on the Marlins lineup is obviously they lose Hanley Ramirez. Hanley, of course, has been moved around in the lineup all year long as Ozzie Guillen has tried to find a spot and a comfort zone for Hanley. In fact, when Hanley returned last night, he was hitting in the 6th spot. Hansen ready. Here's the 3-1 coming to Lee. A fly ball, shallow right center. Hayward and Bourne there. They collide. Bourne makes the catch. Reyes bluffs. And Bourne with a good throwing arm. And Lee is unable to produce the run.
Boy, it's one of those surprises. You would love to see Carlos Lee in that situation many times. Most of the time he's going to get the job done. Not that time.
Now Morrison. The Marlins have struggled in a lot of offensive categories. Morrison is included in those struggles, especially in this spot, and that's with runners in scoring position. Larry Beinfest the other day said that the front office feels there's more in Morrison's bat than he is showing right now.
Logan Morrison to tell you that too.
Yes, without hesitation. High fly ball, right field. Hayward is over and there and makes the catch. So the leadoff double by Reyes and a stolen base wasted. We go to the second, scoreless. Age Greg, Marlins Park in Miami on a Wednesday afternoon. The Marlins and the Braves are scoreless. It's the Coventry second inning. Ricky Nolasco goes back to work with Brian McCann, Freddie Freeman, and Juan Francisco coming up for Atlanta. The news broke this morning. The Marlins trading Hanley Ramirez to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Nathan Eovaldi, Scott McGough. Eovaldi will go into the rotation and will pitch Saturday against the San Diego Padres. And McGough was just drafted out of the University of Oregon, which actually just revived baseball about 4 years ago. Carlos Lee is there. And McCann rolls out to second. Nolasco's retired the first 4 he's faced. McGough is 22. He's actually a little bit older than Eovaldi. And he'll probably end up in might end up in Jupiter.
Eovaldi is a guy that was taken in the 11th round, a little deceptive because he had Tommy John surgery as a junior in high school, and that kind of dropped his draft status. But certainly a guy who has first-round stuff.
Freddie Freeman now. Eovaldi is also out of Alvin, Texas. And if you know your baseball history, you know that there's a Hall of Fame right-hander from that city, and that would be Nolan Ryan. 1 ball, 1 strike to Freeman. I think one of the hardest things to wrap your brain around with the exit of Hanley Ramirez is the state of the franchise, not only for this year, but moving forward. A lot of the headlines in a lot of the stories that are on the internet, on sports websites, baseball websites, is that it's another Marlins fire sale. The 1-2 is outside. I think the telling point will be on opening day 2013, what will the Marlins payroll be? Because if the Marlins payroll is back where it is right now at $100 million, it's not a fire sale, it's a restructuring. There's a roller to Bonifacio. When the Marlins kept the World Series team of 2003 together for 2 years in 04 and 05, and then dismantled that, yes, that was a fire sale. The Marlins cut payroll. 1997, after the Marlins won the World Championship, Wayne Huizenga, yes, that was a fire sale because the Marlins came out with a decidedly lower payroll the next year.
Yeah, it's so easy just to throw that term out there, especially if you've grown up a Marlins fan. But I totally agree. Wait and see what the payroll is next year.
Juan Francisco now.
And you know what? I'll say right now, if the payroll's $50 million next year, I'll call it a fire sale. But I don't think it's going to be.
Nolasco misses up with that 1-0 pitch. Francisco getting the start at third base. Freddie Gonzalez has given Chipper Jones days off, day games after night games. Usually getting Chipper right now in the lineup 5 days out of the week.
Yeah, Francisco has 28 starts at third base.
And he has a base hit, the first hit for the Braves, a 2-out single to center field. Padres are here on Friday night, and it's a Friday Night Live. A 7:10 start for the game. After the game, head to the West Plaza, live concert with the Jacob Jeffries Band. And it's all presented by Heineken Light. Friday Night Live, 1-877-MARLINS, or go to marlins.com.
Well, Francisco, with the base hit, figured he had to fill in for Chipper Jones, who's hit .340 with 4 home runs against Ricky Nolasco. The Braves have some hitters in their lineup that have big numbers against Ricky, but right now, and he's had some early success, he's used his changeup really well.
This is Jose Constanza, who hit everybody in a Marlin uniform last year when he first got to the big leagues. He's 2 for 5 against Ricky. There's the off-speed pitch. Nolasco goes up to get it, flips to Lee, and the second is over for the Braves. To the bottom of the second we go in Miami, scoreless ball game.
Tap for Coventry Healthcare of Florida.
Camp Day in Miami. A lot of campers here. Much different feel for Camp Day this year than in years past.
For the kids, too.
The kids are baking in 92-degree high humidity heat. Now they're in the AC and having fun. Here's Justin Ruggiano. That seems to be Hansen's best pitch so far. He had trouble throwing the fastball for strikes, but that breaking ball has been on.
It gave you that idea when he threw it 3-1 to Donovan Solano.
Ruggiano went around, and the count is 0-2. Justin Ruggiano, Emilio Bonifacio, Brian Peterson. Ruggiano's average still a healthy 362. Last night a 1-for-4 night. Hansen thought he had the strike. You can see him step off the mound. As a result, he'll get back up there with a 1-2 count. It's one of the things the Braves are hopeful for is that Hansen straightens out. Ruggiano pounds that breaking ball down the left field line into the corner and on his way to second, and yet another double for Ruggiano, his 14th double for a guy that the Marlins invited to spring training. He decided to go with the Astros. The Marlins kept an eye on him. When they had a need, they went and got him, and they are glad they did.
Hansen stayed with that breaking ball, but hung it right there for Ruggiano. 7-game hitting streak now, and another leadoff double. Let's see if the Marlins have a little better success this time than they had in the first inning.
Now you've got Bonifacio with the corners on the grass, Francisco and Freeman, and a good base runner at second with Ruggiano. Bonnie shortens the bunt and takes outside. Of course, Bonifacio the type that if he can get the ball down third base side and it's a good solid bunt, he has the chance to beat it out for a hit.
Even if it can get it out toward the shortstop, because Giannis has to stay close to the runner and second base. Because the second baseman, Prado, has to come over to cover first. So there's a lot of space on that little slap bunt, even if he doesn't get it up to the third base line, if he gets it to Francisco's left.
Meanwhile, Hansen has fallen behind 2-0. And the fastball misses away. It's 3-0. Brian Peterson is on deck. See if Bonifacio makes him throw a strike, and he can't. And so Miami has runners first and second. Here's the ticklish part of this situation for the Marlins. You've got Peterson coming up, but then you've got Brett Hayes and Nolasco after that.
Tough part of the lineup. This is an area that American League managers don't have to deal with.
So the question for Ozzie, if you bunt with Peterson here and push the runners up 90 feet, you've got Hayes with first base open and then the pitcher behind him. So we'll see what the Marlins do. Peterson having a very good year in New Orleans when the Marlins called him up. He's always had a good eye at the plate. His on-base percentage in AAA was .380. He was hitting .321.
In AAA, hitting .333 with runners in scoring position, too.
Peterson a fly ball to left. Constanza went back, now comes in and he makes the catch. And so Ozzie has Peterson swinging away, and here comes Hayes. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Now Hayes. And Hansen starts him with a breaking ball. It's a big at bat here because of Nolasco being on deck and one out. Not that Ricky can't run into one every now and then. But Hansen has his escape hatch to get out of this inning.
A lot of people forget Tommy Hansen, third in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2009.
Runners go. Pitch is low. Gotta like that.
Boy, how many times have we seen Justin Ruggiano get a great jump from second base and stealing third? He doesn't have the blazing speed of a Bonifacio or a Reyes. Good instincts, good jump, and a double steal pulled off. Bonifacio going on to second.
So second and third, infield's back, and it's 2-0 to Hayes. And Hansen misses outside. Now Hansen can be cautious with Hayes because he's got first base open and Nolasco on deck. Got great speed out there. Bonifacio's the trail runner. Outfield straight up and deep. Yeah, you green light him.
Yeah, that's why he had the green light. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he gets another fastball, though. We've talked about how Hansen looks like he has command of his breaking ball.
Fastball, and Hayes fouls it back. Pitch 5 was right on the black. So he fell behind 3-0. He's thrown 2 fastballs. And contact so important right now with Hayes. Just putting the ball in play would mean a run. The Marlins had a leadoff double and a steal of third with Reyes in the first and couldn't get him home. The big out there was Carlos Lee popping to shallow center. Fastball struck him out. And so Tommy Hansen strikes out Brett Hayes. And here comes Nolasco.
Boy, and already, Rich, the Marlins are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They've had opportunities with less than 2 out. Runner at third base twice.
So here's Nolasco now. Ricky has driven in 4 runs this year. Hansen starts him with a fastball for a strike. That one moves outside. If you're Velasco, obviously you're looking for something to drive, or if Hansen, and he has shown that he's fallen behind hitters. He's walked one so far. The 1-1. Spins in a breaking ball for a strike. It seems as if his curveball has brought his fastball back because he couldn't spot it for strikes in the first inning.
That's one thing that separates good starting pitching from a mediocre starter. He's able to put it together. If the one pitch isn't working first inning, second inning, he can maybe rely on a second or third pitch.
It's a good take by Nolasco that counts 2-2. Reyes is on deck if Nolasco can somehow reach. Ruggiano and Bonifacio in scoring position. 2-2 coming. Struck him out, and Nolasco knew it. And Tommy Hansen gets out of trouble again. Built this team, or planned to build the team around Hanley as the cornerstone, and that certainly has not worked out. One of the stark differences of Hanley in Miami and Hanley in Los Angeles is he won't be the cornerstone with the Dodgers. That's the center fielder, Matt Kemp.
They have Matt Kemp. They have Andre Ethier.
And so Hanley will play at short. He's scheduled to start at short. At least that's what he said on his way out.
Beyond all that, before Matt Kemp, Rich, they have Vin Scully as their cornerstone.
Good point. 2-1 pitch to Paul Janisch. And Velasco misses down low. In this ball game, the Marlins have had 2 opportunities to score and have not done it. It's been a thorn in the side of this ball club almost from the very start of the 2012 season. The inability to get a hit with runners in scoring position. And Velasco comes out and walks the number 8 hitter, Paul Yanish, who was hitting all of 161.
Well, you just can't. As a bit of concentration there, as a starting pitcher, you just can't let that happen. I know you walk guys. I know that happens. But to start an inning, to walk the number 8 guy who's hitting 170, you just can't have that happen.
Now Hansen will try to bunt, and he fouls it back. Throughout this telecast, you've seen a lot of the smiling Hanley. You've seen Hanley with home runs and such, but his history will be a checkered one, I think, when it's all said and done and written about his time in Miami. And it's ironic that the man managing the Marlins opponent today was involved in maybe the most glaring of those moments. Freddie Gonzalez, remember, manager of the Marlins, the 0-1. Bunted foul when Hanley Ramirez kicked the ball into the corner at Sun Life Stadium.
Freddie took its stance
and then jogged after it leisurely while runners raced around the bases. Gonzalez confronted Hanley in the dugout and then pulled him from the game and sent him to the clubhouse. Hansen shortening to bunt, and he does not get it done. That's a nice out to get for Velasco, and up comes Michael Bourne. Of course, there was the time that Jeff Conine and others, Andre Dawson, Tony Perez, guys that have tried to counsel Hanley.
Many have tried.
And Conine publicly in print criticized Hanley for lack of hustle and discipline, and I think some of it came from that incident with the ball in left field, and Hanley proclaimed that he was Mr. Marlin and not Jeff Conine. Not a nickname that Conine has ever called himself, and quite honestly at times feels uncomfortable hearing, but that's what fans call Jeff Conine. And Hanley, in response to that, said, well, I'm Mr. Marlin.
Well, let me just say, I don't think Niner will have to worry about losing that tag.
But there were great moments as well. A batting title, 3 All-Star trips, Rookie of the Year, the 0-2 in the dirt. And Hayes knocks it down. Velasco looking for win number 9. He has lost his last 2 starts, giving up 4 runs in each. On the road against Pittsburgh and at home against Steven Strasburg and the Nationals. There's other news in baseball. The other headline is that Cole Hamels has agreed to a very large contract with the Phillies.
I know I am a little surprised, especially when we were last in Philadelphia. The sense that I got from the people around the Phillies was that they were not going to be able to sign Hamels.
Roller up the middle. Nice play by Bonifacio, and the turn by Reyes, picked by Lee. They get a speedy Bourne in a 4-6-3 double play. Bonifacio and Reyes up the middle. The Marlins and the Braves scoreless. possible by Papa John's. For $10, get Papa John's new Chicken Parmesan Pizza, or for $2 more, get any large pizza. And by Nissan. Get to Nissan for the biggest savings under the sun at Nissan Summer Saving Days. Scoreless ball game, bottom of the third, top of the order. Second time through for Miami against Tommy Hanson. And the first time through, the Marlins had opportunities in both innings. Reyes led off the ball game with a double in the gap in right center. After Donovan Solano struck out, Reyes stole third. But neither Carlos Leal or Logan Morrison could get him home. In the second, Justin Ruggiano opened with a double. Emilio Bonifacio walked after Brian Peterson flied out. A double steal, but Hanson struck out Brett Hayes and Ricky Nolasco to end the inning.
You realize, Rich, that was the first double play that Michael Bourne has hit into this year. Turned neatly by Bonifacio and Reyes.
Oh, it was a great feed by Bonifacio on a difficult ball, and Reyes is on board for the second time. Watch Bonifacio. This is not an easy ball to A, pick up, and B, start the double play quickly on.
And you have to be perfect. There's the flip as he's kind of diving toward the bag. Good little pick by Carlos Leal over at first base as well.
All right, now Reyes is aboard at first, and the Marlins again, as you see that note, they are the leader in double plays in the National League. Hanson to first, Reyes is back standing. Marlins try to construct a run here.
This is that scenario we were talking about, I think, while we were on the road, either in Chicago or Pittsburgh. The way the Marlins have not had trouble at all getting the leadoff man on base. The Marlins are fourth in the league with a .324 average, getting the leadoff man on base.
Solano takes a fastball up. There it is, leading off an inning, Miami at .324. But of course, the runners in scoring position, Mark, which is in the basement, negates that. Reyes is running, got a good jump. McCann has no chance. And Jose Reyes looks absolutely energized right now.
And also, we talked about it at the very beginning, part of the scouting report on Hanson. Slow to the plate. Leg lift, little slow delivery. Reyes took advantage of that. And because McCann tried to rush that throw, he never could find the good grip on the ball.
All right, what do you do with Solano here? Do you bunt Solano or give him a chance to punch one to the right side and either score Reyes or move him over?
He has shown that he can hit the ball that way, but because the Marlins have had trouble so far, he may do either. And a lot of times a manager will do that when you have a hitter up there who's capable of doing both. Say, well, give it a shot. Give it a shot one time with a swing. If that doesn't work out, then maybe try to drop down a bunt.
He's in a good count right now at 2-0. And again, almost the same pattern there. Hanson couldn't throw the fastball for a strike. So he throws a breaking ball and gets it over. It's 2-1.
So you file those things away as a hitter. He's seen a 3-1 breaking ball, a 2-0 breaking ball.
Reyes is running. Hanson spins and has him picked off. And that's a caught stealing. Hanson figuring that Reyes might be on the move.
I think with one out, you give that a shot. But I think with nobody out, you try to allow Solano to get you there himself.
So 3 times now the Marlins have had runners in scoring position. And it's only the bottom of the third, and they still don't have a run.
Hansen has, to 11 batters, had a 2-0 count. I mean, he's pitched from behind all day, but he's been able to wiggle out of it.
It's amazing. He's thrown 27 balls and 23 strikes and 50 total pitches. Missed outside with a fastball, so Solano trots down to first. Corona Light wants you to find your beach this summer with the Marlins. Corona Light offering 31 lucky Marlin fans the chance to win 4 tickets and a $100 Marlins merchandise gift card. Visit your local participating Navarro pharmacy and look for the Corona Light display for details on how to enter and win. Relax responsibly.
Roger McDowell, pitching coach with the Braves, trying to get Hansen back on track. Talked about his last 2 starts, 9 1/3 innings against the Nationals and Mets, 17 hits, 14 runs. Realize that the year I mentioned that he was 3rd in Rookie of the Year award, 2009. That was the year Chris Coghlan won the Rookie of the Year.
Carlos Lee now. It's amazing. You just look at the numbers. The Marlins have 2 doubles, 4 stolen bases. They've drawn 3 walks, and they don't have a run.
Which does bring up the question, and you know I'm in on that too. I want to see some offense. If you're going to add a little offense. That's been the weakest part of this ball club.
Solano is running, and he's safe. So he steals second.
You can steal and do as many things as you can, but you got to have somebody drive them in. Bottom line.
5 stolen bases already for the Marlins in this ball game. Now Leah's up there with a count 1-1. Giancarlo Stanton can't get back in this lineup soon enough, can he?
Gives the lineup a whole different dynamic. There's no question about that. But you also can't put it all on Stanton.
No, you can't. Marlins had their best month of the year. Stanton was the player of the month in the month of May. All the reports are that the rehab is actually ahead of schedule. Solano's back in there. Hansen has already picked Reyes off from second base in this inning. And he's 2-1 on Carlos Lee.
I think the one thing you do get a feel for, though, Rich, is with the running we've seen early, you get a feel for what Ozzie Guillen would like to do with this ball club.
Lee walks first and second, and now here's Morrison with 1 out. So Tommy Hansen has walked all 3 that he's faced here in the third. I mean, the numbers are just really odd right now. 4 walks, 5 stolen bases, a pair of doubles, scoreless game. Morrison stands in. Lomo flied out to deep right in the first. Hansen's breaking ball is a strike. Morrison, who was so good at driving in runs last year, this year, the knee surgery in December. Obviously not 100% when the season started in April. A low strike, and they count 0-2. Ruggiano is on deck. Solano at second, Lee at first. McCann.
Boy, now Hansen having trouble getting the breaking ball over. Been a battle for Brian McCann back there, too.
David Ross was behind the plate last night. So McCann getting starts in game 1 and 3 of this series. 2 more runners aboard. Hansen about to throw pitch number 60. Breaking ball, and Morrison pulls it foul. National League East standings, as always, presented by Tico. Tommy, did you know Tico is the people's gas? Atlanta is 4.5 back at 53 and 44. The Nationals just keep winning. Mets are 10.5 back. The Marlins just 2 back behind the Mets, who are now 3 under. The Phillies are 14 games back. Which begs the question, now that they've signed Cole Hamels to a 6-year, $144 million deal, does that mean that Cliff Lee is on the market?
If they come back next year with Halladay, Lee, and Hamels, you throw in Papelbon, 4 players are going to be drawing over $80 million a year. So that's why I think Cliff Lee goes somewhere, but you never know. Spring training, by the way, looking at those standings, most felt it would be just the opposite. Flip those up. Phillies, Marlins would be right there.
I think people had an idea that the Nationals were going to be pretty good, but not this good. Morrison's worked the count to 2-2. And he gets a piece of the breaking ball. McCann couldn't squeeze it, and he's still alive.
Well, right now, the Nationals with that 3-1 lead over the Mets. In 5 innings, Steven Strasburg has given up the 1 run, an Ike Davis home run, but no walks and 8 strikeouts.
Marlins going to see the Braves next week in Atlanta for 4. I think Morrison went, and he did. And so the Marlins need Justin Ruggiano to either drive in a run or keep the inning going. Otherwise, this is going to be another disappointing inning.
Well, the Marlins need a big hit to get the camp kids going. Camp day, all the kids here, different colored T-shirts. They want a little excitement.
Ruggiano, another drive down the line, and it's an extra base hit. Scoring is Solano. Here comes Lee. El Caballo on his way. He's going to be out. Lee could not score, but the Marlins finally get a run, and it's Ruggiano again. 1-0 Miami. His second one drives in, the only run of the game. It's the fourth, the Cleveland Clinic fourth. Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Hey, thanks, Rich. Hanley Ramirez got to the ballpark about 9:45 today. We were there when he came in, had a little LA logo for the Showtime group. And among the first guys just coincidentally he ran into were the president of baseball operations, Larry Beinfest, who was just going to make a left to the Marlins clubhouse, then came back along with general manager Mike Hill. Hanley thanked all of them for his time here, for giving him an opportunity. It was a very emotional press conference. No tears. He choked up once or twice. He said he didn't think he was going to be dealt. At the same time, he said he had trouble sleeping last night and still can't believe he's been traded. He said Miami will always be his home. We'll have some clubhouse talk in a little bit as well, guys.
All right, thanks, Craig. Martin Prado, Jason Hayward, and Brian McCann. It's 1-0. Miami has to. It almost feels like the Marlins have scored 4 runs. Just getting that one run has been an enormous task today. Nolasco throws a strike. Prado line to center, and then you got Hayward and McCann, who both bounced to second. Ricky's been sharp. He's given up a single, and he's walked a batter. Has a couple of strikeouts. And his fastball misses away. Counts 2-1. Carlos Lee looked like an El Caballo trying to go from first to home. And you can understand Joe Espada figuring the way the Marlins are going, you might as well take a shot.
Got to take a shot.
Two and two. To right, out goes Bonifacio, and a nice play there by Brian Peterson. Trivia brought to you by AT&T.
What do we got for trivia today?
Only Marlin to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning.
Well, you always reach for the long ball hitters. You know, heck, it could be a Preston Wilson, a Cliff Floyd.
Oh for 2.
Could be an Orestes Destrada.
Cody Ross ever do it?
It's a good guess.
I got the buzzer as well.
How about Moises Alou?
How about Gary Sheffield, maybe?
Oh,
No?
the chef. No, you got the ring. I think the buzzer's going out of control now.
It's been that kind of day around here, you know, a little crazy day. Marlins Park.
1-2 to Hayward. He hammers that ball in the gap, left center. Ruggiero trying to cut it off. Hayward's thinking 2 all the way, and he's going to get there. Good hustle by Jason Hayward. One thing you've learned about this ballpark, having watched 3.5 months of baseball here, any ball in the gap, if a hitter has even average speed, it's a double if they're busting out of the box.
They come out of the box quickly. You have the outfielder kind of moving away from the play. Hayward runs well, so no problem for him. It was one of the few mistake pitches that Ricky's made. He got a fastball up and out over the plate to Hayward. Well, this is a guy that's been tough on Ricky Nolasco. Batting average around 340. 6 career home runs against Ricky.
And he ropes one foul and up into the seats. Here are the matchup numbers.
Well, when Chipper Jones and McCann were both in the lineup, Prado too. Prado's hit Ricky Nolasco. This is a tough trio for him to deal with.
Chipper with his 4 homers and a 340 average. 1-1. Well, it looked like a breaking ball. Nolasco kind of snapped his head. BB&T Fox tracks. That's a borderline pitch. It's right up nestled against the black. 2-1. Miami has a 1-0 lead, but McCann has Hayward in scoring position. Turns on another changeup and lines it into the seats. Braves have had plenty of offense at the top of their order. Bourne and Prado have been getting on base. McCann and Freeman have been getting hot. Chipper has continued to produce. Jones getting the day off. Dan Uggla getting the day off. A struggling Dan Uggla. But with the Marlins in the last couple of days making 2 trades, the Hanley Ramirez trade in the early hours of today, the Braves have kind of been waiting to hear if Ryan Dempster would accept the trade that the Cubs had apparently worked out with the Braves. Dempster, by all reports, as a 10-5 player, has the right to decline that trade. And for the time being, he has. Dempster actually pitching today.
Yeah, he's pitching in Pittsburgh. The Cubs have a 2-1 lead. Dempster's gone 4 innings, given up just 1 hit and 1 run.
2-2.
It sounds like Ryan Dempster would prefer to go to Los Angeles. Yeah, the only run he's allowed is the Neil Walker home run.
And the Braves feel, Frank Wren, Freddie Gonzalez, if they can bolster that starting rotation, they can keep this run going and avoid what happened to them last year. Remember, last year in September, the starters were not getting deep enough in the ball games, and that trio of Flaherty, Venters, and Kimbrel, along with the rest of the team, just flat ran out of gas at the end, all the way up until the final hour, when they lost to the Phillies and were knocked out of the wild card.
Yeah, and Freddie's trying to prevent the overusage of that trio.
McCann pops up.
Good changeup.
And it's caught barely by Solano. Lee was late in coming down from first. Hayes, the catcher, was out there, but you always want a position player that far out to try to make that play. and it was left to Solano, who's getting the start in place of Ramirez at third.
It's really a first baseman's ball, and Carlos Lee was not there. He got some help.
That's a heads-up play by Solano.
Yeah, you talk about a rookie player taking charge. That's a great sign. It's a tough play, a difficult play for the catcher. So Brett Hayes is out there, and then Solano called him off, but it's really a first baseman's play.
Now Freeman steps in. He's bounced to second. Lines it out into center field. It'll fall for a base hit, and this ball game is tied. All the base runners, all the stolen bases, all the doubles that the Marlins have, and the Braves just put together a double and a single, and voila, they've got a run.
And just like that, a tie game.
It's a cruel game. I mean, the Marlins have 3 doubles in 3 innings, 4 walks, 5 stolen bases. They've had a man picked off second, and they've had a man thrown out at the plate. Francisco takes down low. So Freeman delivers a base hit. Francisco may have hit the hardest ball of the day for the Braves when he singled back in the second. Change up by Nolasco.
Ricky has to tell himself right now, even though it's been kind of crazy the way it's arrived at a 1-1 tie, he has good stuff today. He's got good off-speed stuff. His changeup, it's been successful against these guys who've hit his fastball pretty well over the years.
To right, it's well hit, and it's gone. Way gone. Juan Francisco, his 8th, and the Braves take a 3-1 lead.
And what happened? Ricky tried the split, the changeup. Didn't work that time. He hung it a little bit, and Francisco juiced it. Watch where this splitter is. Stays in. Brett Hayes away, wanted it there. Francisco kind of stayed at the plate and looked and watched to see if it was going to be fair or foul.
Costanza runs up and takes a pitch in the dirt. Ball and a strike, so the Braves have a 3-1 lead on a day where Miami has squandered some scoring opportunities. That changeup fouled off. The Yankees losing Alex Rodriguez, a broken hand last night in Seattle.
So the other move made, we were going to keep our eye on the Pirates. Pirates acquiring Wandy Rodriguez.
Costanza strikes out, but just like that, the Braves put 3 on the board and lead at 3-1. and by Coventry Healthcare of Florida, lighting the way to better health. Juan Francisco with a 2-run homer, that following the RBI single by Freddie Freeman. And the Marlins find themselves down by 2 here, 3-1. It's Bonifacio, Peterson, and Hayes against a struggling Tommy Hanson. And it's odd to say that. He's got a 3-1 lead, but that's exactly what Hanson is. Hanson has thrown 67 pitches. Only 31 of them have been strikes.
Yeah, you talk about having a guy on the mound that's wobbling. Tommy Hanson is that guy. The Marlins are 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position.
Bonifacio drives that ball to center field. Bourne in full flight is there, and he makes the catch. He can go get him.
That's a double wow right there, because watching from our vantage point, you've got a guy who's a hitter who you don't expect to hit it that well. And as soon as that ball was struck, Michael Bourne was on the move. Got a great jump, a terrific route, and pulled it down on a well-hit ball off the bat of Emilio Bonifacio.
Peterson now. He flied to left his first time up. And Hanson misses high with a fastball. So the Yankees have to figure out how
they have
to fill the gap.
Eric Chavez. They can play there.
Chavez had a similar injury earlier in his career. Rodriguez was hit by a changeup from Felix Hernandez.
Boy, Juan Francisco's home run, 435 feet. Yeah, actually, Felix Hernandez, King Felix, hit 3. Yankees hit his former teammate Ichiro. I think he got Jeter too.
Here's the trivia answer, brought to you by AT&T. Only Marlin to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning.
I think Craig had. I think it was Sheffield.
It was an 8th-run 4th in '97 in a win over the Phillies.
Nice going, Craig. That would have been at the Vet. Was it in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Philadelphia would have been at the Vet.
Peterson's running on the first pitch. McCann's throw is high, and the Marlins have another stolen base.
You can see the jumps that the Marlins are getting off Tommy Hanson, who is slow to the plate, part of the scouting report. Head down, little peek, easy steal.
6 stolen bases now for Miami. Hayes struck out back in the 2nd. And he swings and misses. 0-2. Another runner in scoring position, with the Marlins down a couple. And Hayes strikes out for the 2nd time.
Talk about how trades, you and I have talked about how trades affect different guys. A guy like Brett Hayes affected when hearing the Marlins acquired a top catching prospect from Detroit, Rob Brantley. That has to be in his mind.
Now Nolasco finds himself up again in a spot where he could drive in a run. Ricky was up with runners at second and third and 2 outs in the second, and he struck out. Hanson's been able to get the big out when he's needed it. He got Carlos Lee with a runner at third and 1 out to pop out in the first. Velasco lines it foul. He got Brett Hayes to strike out with runners at second and third and 1 out in the second, and he was helped by Constanza and Yanish on the relay throw to get Carlos Lee on Ruggiano's RBI double. And he strikes out Velasco. The Marlins leave yet another runner in scoring position. 3-1 Atlanta. Martin Prado, since June 19th, has been a solid contributor. Braves are counting on Prado. You can count on Just for Men Auto Stop for foolproof results.
Martin Prado, one of those guys you can count on at third base, left field, second base.
Subway fifth. Atlanta with a 3-1 lead. And Velasco gets Paul Yanish and then Hanson. The danger for the Marlins here is early struggles, getting base runners on, not getting them in, and then having to face the back end of the Atlanta bullpen in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, while Hanson is obviously not sharp.
Yeah, that's a great point. You start looking at the game and you think, boy, 5th, 6th, 7th innings are so important. You know, you get to that 8th inning, score remains the same. You're going to see the same two characters, O'Flaherty and Kimbrel.
Yanish walked back in the third. Our Cholula hot sauce spotlight player, Yanish, grew up in Texas. Nolan Ryan, his favorite, played at Rice. Made his debut against the Marlins. In fact, had the game-winning hit in that ball game against Reniel Pinto, and he drives one by the diving Solano. Yanish around first will hold. Strong throw in from Morrison. And we check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Hey guys, just saw that ball get by Donovan Solano. I was talking to Donovan before the game today. No doubt playing third is a lot easier transition for him than when he played out in the outfield, where he's played in 6 games for the Marlins this year and really had no history out in the outfield. But at least coming up as a middle infielder, second and short, he's used to the infield. He did tell me he played quite a few games at third in the minor leagues, though it wasn't his main position. So I asked him what's the biggest difference. He said one of them is this play right here coming up, just fielding either a sacrifice or a bunt where you're coming in and getting used to that angle. And Another thing he told me, you got to get used to the outside the bag throws, he described it, and not throwing inside the bag. But he said overall, you just got to be ready. Ball comes at you a lot quicker.
Hansen drops down a bunt. Nolasco gobbles it up and flips to first. Short hops Bonifacio. The Braves move their runner up. Giannis is in scoring position for the top of the order. Bourne and Prado. Well, Nolasco was cruising along, had good stuff. Gave up the double to Hayward in the fourth after he got the second out, a tough out, a guy that had eaten him alive in matchups past, Brian McCann. Freddie Freeman singled the center, and that tied the game. And then in an instant, with a hanging changeup, Juan Francisco hit it, what, 436 feet? Or something to that effect.
Close, 435.
All right, I was off by 1 foot. Up into the home run porch in right field. Bourne is struck out and bounced into a double play. And Bourne rips one to right. That's deep. Peterson looks up, and that's gone. Wow. Michael Bourne, his 8th home run.
Michael Bourne hit one out here at Marlins Park on June 7th. Braves hit 4 home runs that day. So Bourne has hit 2 home runs here in this ballpark.
This is a career high for Bourne, who hit just 2 homers all of last year between Houston and Atlanta. And he played in 158 games. And so Nolasco facing a team that has guys both in the lineup and in the dugout who have clobbered him in his career, and yet it's 2 guys you don't expect to hurt him that have hit 2-run homers against him, and that's Juan Francisco and Michael Bourne.
You know, early on, Ricky was making good pitches, but he's made mistakes, and when he's made mistakes today, he's really paid. Michael Bourne in this ballpark, 8 for 24, 333 average, with those 2 home runs, and with every base hit or home run or great catch or stolen base that Michael Bourne puts together, it's just more cha-ching because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
That one smoked to right. Peterson is there, and he makes a catch on a Jason Hayward liner. Braves stretch their lead to 5-1.
and Zap for Toyota.
Little ice cream and beer combination there. Not nearly as tasty as Raul and Cookie. Hi, guys. How are you?
Richie.
How are you guys?
How are you, Tommy? How are you guys?
Cookie, you know what we're going to ask you. We want to have your take on the trade of Hanley Ramirez.
No comprende. You know, it was a move that the Marlins had to do. You know, they had to do something. The being disappointment in the ball club, the way they have performed throughout the whole year. And the only way that you can move Hanley Ramirez is trying to get something in return that is of value. I mean, they're getting a starting pitcher, I guess, in Eovaldi, and a young pitcher, young one, which is Scott McGough. So we have to wait now and see what develops after this trade. It's got to take time, and hopefully that we get pitchers that can really help us in the future.
Jose Reyes fouls a pitch back and out of play. Eovaldi will start on Saturday against the Padres, and we've been discussing Hanley's legacy here. It's a mixed bag. There were some great moments, and there were some not so great moments.
Well, there's no question about it. Since last year, you know, when he got hurt, and all of a sudden this year, when they picked up Jose Reyes, he had to move from shortstop to third base. And it seemed to me they're very happy. He was playing good defense, except certain moments, you know, where it lacks maybe the experience of playing the third sacker. But eventually, when you look back, he led the league in hitting. He was just Rookie of the Year, had tremendous power, and an RBI man, and they were counting very highly on him. So now, my question is this to you, Tommy, and to you, Richie. I see that we're getting a lot of pitching in return, but we're not seeing any regular, everyday players coming back to our ball club, and that is a concern in my mind.
I agree. We talked about that a couple of innings ago. Like to see some offense because that's certainly what Ozzie and the ball club needs.
Absolutely. So let's see what happened. And they said that maybe there's still a possibility of more movement. So we'll wait and see what happens and see what the rest of the season calls for.
With respect to the trade, I think it's like a bittersweet situation. It reminds me, the only parallels I can draw are when Shaq came to the Heat and left. He came in with a lot of fanfare and left, unfortunately, with a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And also Allen Iverson with the 76ers and the great talent that he was, but at some point he just overstayed his welcome over in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and it's, you know, sometimes a player like Hanley needs a wake-up call, so to speak, and maybe going to Los Angeles is a wake-up call for him. It's a new opportunity, and maybe he turns the page and I don't know, changes his outlook and changes his production on the field.
I think our thought is always the same. You know, we wish him well, that he does well with the Dodgers, and at the same time that the kids that we got in return
just not against
do
us.
Well here. You know, that's the main point of the thing.
Yeah, because we will see Hanley 6 games.
Yes, sir. That'll be interesting. August 10th. Mark it on your calendars.
And we have to look for the offense too, Tommy and Richie, because you look at this game, 4 innings or 3 innings consecutively, we had men on bases and the possibility of driving somebody in, and we couldn't do it.
3 walks, a double, and only 1 run scored.
So we have to get some time of offense or some players that can come back here and help us out in the future into driving those runs.
All right, guys, have a good show.
You too, guys.
Donovan Solano's worked a full count from Tommy Hanson. That pitch over his head, a breaking ball. Solano is aboard. The Marlins have stolen 6 bases. The question would be, down 4 runs now, does that slow the running game down?
Yeah, they've stole them easily. There was a game, and we were tossing it about between innings back in 2000 against the Padres. The Marlins set a club record 10 stolen bases. The pitcher that they stole all those bases against, Stan Spencer, right-hander, could not hold runners. But the oddity in that game, the Marlins lost that game 6-2. So 10 stolen bases, and they had just 2 runs in that game.
A 5-1 game here. Solano stole second back in the 3rd. He's not running, and Lee fouls it out of play. Well, Tommy Hanson has wobbled, as you've noted, and the Marlins have had plenty of opportunities, but the way he's going, he won't be around for the 7th or the 8th or the 9th. because he's up at 91 pitches already.
He might not be around for the 6th.
Solano's running, pitch down low, and the throw down to second. Stolen base number 7 for Miami. Solano gets his second.
I mean, you can see how easily the Marlins runners are getting jumps. You don't even have to get a great lead because of the slowness of Hansen to the plate.
Lee sends it left center field. Bourne over and in, and he makes the catch. Of course, the Marlins, as well as not being able to get a big hit in this ball game, had Reyes picked off at second base and had Lee thrown out at home plate.
You know, in Carlos Lee, it's been a small sample size, 16 games. He's playing in his 17th game today. But a bit of a disappointment. Well, Caballo hitting right around 200. He has the 1 home run, the grand slam, and 9 RBIs. So a guy who came in with, you know, maybe a little higher expectations has, in his small sample size, not produced so far. But of course, the original expectations were bringing him in to bat on the other side of Giancarlo.
Now Morrison, who takes a breaking ball for a strike. Morrison is flied out, and he struck out. With 2 runners on and 1 out his last time up. That was in the 3rd. Oz Diaz says no swing. One pitch. And it's 1-2. From the news of the day, one disturbing note, and it has, at least at this point, a nice ending. The 74-year-old mother of Cal Ripken Jr. was abducted by an armed man from her home in northeast Baltimore early this morning, but was found unharmed and is safe. The abductor is still at large. She was abducted between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Tuesday and found 6:15 a.m. this morning unharmed near her home. Two coming. Hansen bounces one up there. Well, Ruggiano, the Marlins would love to get him to the plate. He's banged out 2 doubles against Hansen. The second, which produced the only run and nearly produced another, but Lee, trying to score from first to third, was thrown out at the plate.
Tell you, Hansen with the 5 walks, 1 more walk, and he'll tie his season high and also his career high. He walked 6 Baltimore Orioles back on June 15th, and that's his career high. Yet he leads 5-1.
Fastball up. And Morrison walks. 7 walks for Hansen. Here comes Ruggiano.
So there's a career high, 7 walks. He had 6. So let's see. 7 is the lucky number for Hansen. 7 walks, 7 strikeouts, and the Marlins have stolen 7 bases.
And they have 3 doubles in the ballgame for their 3 hits. Yet they've scored just 1 run. Chris Medlin is in the Braves bullpen. Roger McDowell for his second time out to the mound. Here's Ruggiano. Now, I'd be stunned if Hansen throws him a breaking ball, because both doubles were breaking balls that he hung, and Ruggiano hit him in almost the exact same spot. A line shot in between Francisco and the third baseline, and Francisco now is 2 or 3 steps over towards the line.
And Ruggiano has been so good at adjusting and setting up pitchers. You would think that he might just be sitting on a fastball. But I'm with you. I'd be surprised if Hansen tries to flip another breaking ball to it.
Misses out with a fastball. Throw behind the runner. Morrison's back in there with Freeman dashing in. Pitch was a strike. See it right down the middle. Ruggiano with a 1-1 count now. Solano's at second. Morrison's at first. Fastball, and he popped it up, and it's going out of play.
So he hasn't seen that breaking ball yet.
Two outs, bottom 5. Multiple base runners again for Miami. Well, he missed with it, and it's 2-2.
McCann may have said, we better not try that one again.
Hansen has given up 19 home runs this year. Two coming. Fouled the fastball back.
That's the pitch that Ruggiano talked to you about the other day, about making adjustments. Pitchers tried to go up high with fastballs.
After 2 or 3 weeks of success, the pattern that both he and Eduardo Perez saw, pitchers more breaking balls and more high fastballs. And he's hammered 2 breaking balls for doubles in this one. Full count, 2 outs. A jump start for Solano. And for Morrison. There's the breaking ball, and he stays alive. Didn't have the best of swings.
Yeah, but he looked like he was on it. It was actually a better breaking ball than the ones he's hit, but he still looked like he was on it. That's why I would be surprised if McCann comes back with it and calls the same pitch for Hansen. Especially since they've gotten burned a couple of times. I would think they'd probably go up with that fastball again.
Three-two coming. Driven to center. Bourne goes back, and at the track he makes the catch. Ruggiano hit it about 405 feet, but the Marlins lead 2 more. 5-1 Atlanta. and Atlanta, a frustrating day so far for the Marlins. Lots of opportunities. They trail in this ball game by a score of 5-1. If you want to stay connected with the Marlins through social media, well, you can do it. All you got to do is like the Marlins at facebook.com/Marlins. Follow them on Twitter, twitter.com/Marlins. Join the official Marlins conversation. Be the first to receive breaking news, special offers, free prizes, and more as McCann rips one into right field for a base hit. Boy, that breaking news aspect of that takes on a whole new meaning over the last couple days for the Marlins.
Sure does. It's a great time of year to pick up on a lot of breaking news.
I've got some breaking news.
What's that, Rich?
Major League Baseball and the Marlins have announced there's a roller to the left of Bonifacio. He's going to get the out at first. That Marlins Park will host the second round of the World Baseball Classic next year. The finals will be held on the West Coast at AT&T Park in San Francisco. Some first round games also in Arizona. But Marlins Park will hold second round games. Probable, I don't know if it's been announced yet, but it's probable that there will be first round games either in Puerto Rico or in the Dominican Republic before the second round here.
There'll also be some good games, too. Good competitive games.
The finals of the World Baseball Classic have been held on the West Coast. And now for the third time they've had the World Baseball Classic, it'll be a West Coast site for the finals. Dodger Stadium, Petco Park, and now AT&T. But second round, World Baseball Classic next March. Velasco misses with a breaking ball.
Juan Francisco, Rich, a guy who always had power, and we certainly saw some of that power with the home run he hit back in the fourth inning, 435 feet. But in 08 and in 09, coming up in Cincinnati's minor league system, he led their whole system in home runs each of those years.
Well, he certainly showed it off with the home run here, because it was a changeup and he popped it up into that upper deck in right field, up into the campers. That's about as much fun as the campers have had so far. That and maybe a Mountain Dew and some cotton candy.
Yeah, got it into that home run porch. I think had Reyes's not stuck right down the line, he may have found that. I don't think a Marlin hitter has found the home run porch, the second deck in right field yet.
Counts 2-2. McCann's at second. Velasco to the plate. Change up, rolled up the middle into center field, base hit. McCann trucking around third, on his way to the plate. Ruggiano's throw comes home, and McCann finally arrives safe. And Juan Francisco makes it 6-1.
A big day for Francisco, his third hit. And that hit's going to drive Ricky Nolasco out of the game as well.
Ozzie Guillen out to take the ball. As Nolasco's day is done here in the top of the sixth inning. (6-1) Atlanta. Dan Jennings coming out of the Marlins bullpen. of the Marlins. A Juan Francisco RBI single is not Ricky Nolasco out of the ball game. So Dan Jennings, who's having a fine year in New Orleans, has been up before. Arrives on the scene.
Yeah, actually picked up a win back in May against the Giants, working out of the bullpen. So, with each time he makes an appearance at this level, more comfortable, good fastball and slider. And I think, Rich, we haven't mentioned a whole lot with the Hanley Ramirez deal, with Randy Choate involved in that as well, going to the Dodgers. Certainly a need that a contending team has, a left-handed guy who's just a matchup guy.
Carlos Lee, a short hop, flip out to short. Reyes there for the out. Constanza bounces into a fielder's choice.
But I think Dan Jennings certainly can fill that role that was filled. And the only exception, the only thing he doesn't have is the experience that a Randy Choate had.
The Marlins actually have 3 lefties in their bullpen with Mike Dunn and Wade LeBlanc. And now Jennings. Though it'll be interesting to see as the Marlins add a couple of young starting pitchers to their rotation over the next 2 weeks. Runner goes. The pitch is taken. Hayes' throw is high. Safe at second. Bonifacio with the tag, but it wasn't in time. Constanza gets a stolen base.
Yeah, Constanza with great speed. This had to be a perfect throw. A little high. By the time Bonnie got the tag down, Constanza was there.
Giannis has walked and singled. Breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-1. With Nathan Eovaldi starting on Saturday, he's right into the rotation. Obviously, there's a roster spot for a pitcher open with Choate going in that Ramirez trade. Ozzie Guillen may have a decision to make in a couple weeks when a young arm joins the ball club. At least that's the plan out of the Infante and Sanchez trade.
Yeah, it sounded that way in our conversation last night with Larry Beinfest, that a couple of starts, Jacob Turner would arrive here.
Ground ball pulled to third. Solano has it. Fires across in time. Marlins are down in this one 6-1. Going to the bottom of the 6th. Game reset. What an odd game this is. Atlanta's up 6-1. Juan Francisco has driven in 3 runs with a 2-run homer and an RBI single. Miami has 7 stolen bases. Tommy Hanson walked 7, but the Marlins are 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, the great part of it all, Rich, all of that said, a little bit of a downer today at times. But camp day, the kids that are out here, they could care less. They're having a great time.
Oh, look, we found a big camper out there in the middle of everything.
They're having a great time, aren't they, Craig?
And why not? They're at a ball game, and for a change, it is not blistering hot on them. 20,000 campers have made their way here from Palm Beaches to the Keys, including, and you guys look that way because the camera's out that way, from the city of North Miami Parks and Recreation. And Mikey is one of the leaders there. It's baseball week, so good timing, huh?
Yes, it's very good. The kids enjoying the game very much.
What are they learning at camp this week about baseball?
They're learning how to throw, how to field, how to catch, and the fundamentals of a baseball game.
Might need a few guys out here for the Marlins the way things go. How are you enjoying the game in the park?
It's great. It's a great experience to be here today. Sadly, we're losing right now, but we have better days.
Are you enjoying the baseball game?
Yes.
All right, and the new park is terrific. It's probably your first look for some of your guys. How are you enjoying that?
Yeah, the kids are enjoying it. Most of the kids, it's their first time ever to this ballpark, but more importantly, it's their first time ever to a baseball game.
Yeah.
So they're enjoying it very well.
Good to have you guys here. City of North Miami Parks and Recreation, part of 20,000 campers here on a day. I don't know if there's an empty seat here today, guys, although now it's starting to file out as the campers have to get back home. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Craig. I don't know. We'll see if the campers are as orderly as the Marines and the sailors in San Diego.
On a Sunday afternoon game at Petco, yeah. And the other thing, this is the way you cultivate young fans. The kids are out here, a lot of them, for the first time, to enjoy the game, but also to enjoy the atmosphere, which I'm sure they have.
Chris Medlin taking over. Brian Peterson bounces it out to Martin Prado, who throws him out, and Medlin taking over for Tommy Hanson. Whole question in this one.
What could it be?
What do you think about the Hanley Ramirez trade? You like it? You dislike it? Surprise? Not sure. Text to 789-789. M1 like, M2 dislike, M3 surprise, M4 not sure. M5 if you just want to order a pizza.
Go to your ballpark app and order a Cuban sandwich.
Well, if you're a James Bond fan, M5 might work too. Been a tough day for Brett Hayes. He struck out in the second. Marlins had runners at second and third, and he struck out in the fourth with a runner at second. Counts 0-2. Scott Cousins is on deck. That's the pitcher spot.
Boy, speaking of strikeouts, 11 strikeouts for Steven Strasburg in his 7 innings of work against the Mets.
BB&T Fox tracks. Medlin, a hard thrower, not a big guy. And he strikes out Hayes on a fastball. And the Marlins are down in order in the 6th. Ago, Major League Baseball announcing that the second round of the World Baseball Classic will be here at Marlins Park, and that will be next March. And that means Claude Delorme will be busy next March. He joins us now, Vice President of Baseball Field Operations.
Yep, operations and events now. It keeps changing.
It used to be ballpark development, but you did quite nicely in developing this ballpark, so you've got a new title.
So they figured they'd change my title. So now I've got to make sure we bring a lot of events to the venue. So really pleased, that with the announcement today, presented the RFP in April, and for us to be selected a second time. Really a tribute to Miami and the organization as well. And
the teams that will come in your direction will be teams probably coming out of the Caribbean pool from either the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we're looking at, and they still haven't finalized the makeup of the pools, but we're looking at USA, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican, Venezuela. All those teams will be great draws here, and we know USA and Mexico are likely in one pool, and then it's just a decision if they're going to put all the three teams, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican, in one pool or divide it up. So
that would be a tough pool because only two advance from each pool.
Correct.
There'll be some good baseball with those teams.
Yeah, last time was 39 games, over 800,000 people applied, over 800,000 attended. And there was 6,300 media that were credentialed for this event, so this continues to grow at all levels, and certainly the ones in 2013 will escalate that.
So the site has been announced. What about the dates?
We are looking at March 11th to 15th in our case, and that's a Monday to Friday. So what we don't know is whether there will be one split doubleheader or two. So likely the first day will be a split, and then it'll either be 4 individual games, or they'll do 2 splits and then followed by 2 single games. So we're waiting for WBC, or World Baseball Classic International, to validate that information in the pools. And as soon as we know that, we'll start reaching out to our season ticket holders. They'll get an exclusive offer to our season ticket holders and partial plans, and then we'll continue extending strips out to the general public prior to going on sale to the general public.
How was it attended in 2009 in the second round, and what do you see as the difference in terms of what the Marlins can deliver with a new facility?
Yeah, I think the venue is, the proximity to downtown, the diversity of this market. I think people are much more better informed on these games and the quality of the players. Over 50% of the players were Major League Baseball players. Of the 455, I think it was 228 Major League players. So now this is really a quality event, going from 16 countries or 16 teams to 28 teams in 2013. So the exposure is more and more reaching. It was it was broadcasted in 229 countries in 2009. So an extremely visible event, and for us to showcase it in our new ballpark, it's an outstanding opportunity.
Dan Jennings working here.
And Claude, speaking of new ballpark, I know it's one of the first things Rich and I noticed when we returned from this past road trip was the surface, the grass and the turf. It looks much better.
We had to surprise you. We changed the infield and the area behind home plate, down first and third baseline in the foul territory. That's the same type of surface that we had at Sun Life, called TIF 419. The outfield, and you saw the outfield, how much it's improved. And
it looks just great.
From having the roof open at all times and the sun and a bit of rain, and it's gotten significantly better. So very pleased with the progress, and we think after the next series it should be really at 100%.
What have you learned from the time you opened the building to where you are now in terms of exposure, water, and all of that?
Yeah, the biggest issue is the shade, and one of the challenges, Rich, that we had this year was we were still commissioning the roof, so the roof had to be open and closed during the day at certain times early in the season, and that took away some sunlight that was critical to the growth of the grass and to making it very consistent. For the first month of the season, we realized that it was a little bit different from our shade studies. In right field, we were getting no sun at all, so it was under shade the whole day. So we've ordered growth lights, which will arrive in October. And next year and during the off season, during the periods where we're getting more shade in one area, we'll have the opportunity to install the growth lights and give it the light and the heat that it's required for the grass to grow consistently.
Roller up the middle. Bonifacio backhands, fires to first. All right, well, congratulations on landing the World Baseball Classic.
Thank you.
Good work on the grass. It looks good, too. Thanks,
Yeah,
Claude.
thank you, guys.
All right, Claude Delorme. 6-1, Atlanta. Hanley Ramirez is headed to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Remember, in his history, Hanley has hit very well at Dodger Stadium. He's had some of his best games as a Marlin in Los Angeles. Now, I know it was Manny Wood when Manny Ramirez was there. That didn't quite work out so well. We'll see what Hanley Wood turns out to be. Those are his numbers at Dodger Stadium.
And your point a few innings ago with Hanley going there, pressure on him isn't to be the man. I mean, obviously he has pressure to perform, but with Matt Kemp off the disabled list, Andre Ethier, that puts together a pretty solid lineup for a ball club who's looking for offense, the Dodgers. And they hope they get the Hanley Ramirez of a couple of years ago.
Scott Cousins takes a changeup from Chris Medlin. Cousins hitting in the pitcher spot. Then Jose Reyes and Donovan Solano. As Medlin pitches into the 7th inning, his 2nd inning in relief of Tommy Hanson, who had one of the more bizarre pitching lines you'll ever see, especially for a guy that is either in the clubhouse or in the dugout with a 6-1 lead. Hanson went 5 innings. Gave up 3 hits, all of them doubles. 1 run. He walked 7. He struck out 7. He gave up 7 stolen bases. I guess about the only thing the Marlins didn't do that would have helped was steal home. But obviously it's not an easy thing to do, and you wait for that big hit, and it just hasn't come.
Yeah, the Marlins had opportunities. Right now, 1 for 12 in this game with runners in scoring position. They've left 7 men on base.
Fastball into Cousins. Medlin working his way back into the big leagues after the Tommy John surgery. That's outside corner, and it's a strike 3 called. Here comes Reyes.
Medlin's a good guy in that bullpen Freddie Gonzalez. He allows him to use him for more than one inning. And that's exactly what Freddie's doing here this afternoon.
Now Reyes doubled, walked, pulls a ground ball foul. Reyes opened the game with a ringing double to right, promptly stole third, but the Marlins couldn't get him home. In the third, he walked, promptly stole second, and then Hansen, with a spin move, picked him off when he was running to third and trying to steal third.
It's another one of those games, Rich. I'm mad at myself that we don't keep track of these during the course of the year. Another one of those games where in the first or second inning, a key play happens that sets the tone, whether it be a positive or a negative tone for the game. So you never know if Reyes, after that double, if he comes in and the Marlins pick up that run in the first inning, you never know what's going to happen. Jose with a 13-game hitting streak now.
And it's such an intangible thing, but you can really see it with the Marlins in a day in and day out basis. When something like that goes wrong, when that key play doesn't go Miami's way, it is deflating, and it sucks the life right out of a ball club. That's right down the middle. Reyes takes strike three, and two Marlin hitters have taken Medlin fastballs for a called strike three in this seventh inning.
Tell you what, Medlin has faced 5 batters. He struck out 4, and that was center cut. Where the last 2 spots in the Marlins order, the number 8 spot and the pitcher spot, Brett Hayes is 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Velasco struck out his 2 ABs, and Scott Cousins struck out in his pinch hit appearance.
Yeah, Medlin has picked up, in terms of strikeouts, where Hansen left off. Medlin has struck out 4. And he's only faced 5 guys. Of course, when you're a ball club and you're going well, and there's a play, as you noted, that goes the other way early in a ball game, if you're a ball club that's going well, that's just a bump in the road, and you're able to overcome that. Miami's not been able to overcome stuff like that.
Because they're a ball club that's not been going well.
Solano up there, the count's 2-2. Medlin runs it outside. And Solano fouls it at the plate. Off day tomorrow. Padres here for 3. And then Miami dives back into the East in a big way. 4 in Atlanta, 4 in Washington, 3 in New York. An 11-game trip, which includes a doubleheader a week from Friday against the Nationals.
Yeah, that goes back to that early season rainout in D.C.
Carlos Lee's flied out twice and walked.
Yeah, on Friday night, Carlos Zambrano against Kip Wells of the Padres. We'll get our first look at Nathan Eovaldi Saturday night against Ross Ollendorf. And then on Sunday, Josh Johnson against Clayton Richard. Richard, a lefty.
Isn't Ross Ollendorf the smartest man in baseball?
He's considered that. I think he, gets some competition from Chris Young.
They're both Ivy League guys,
both
right?
Ivy League guys.
Will Venable, Ivy League guy, too. But I think Young has been on the record as saying Ohlendorf is way smarter than he is.
I think he was. Well, you know what? We should see what they say. Ohlendorf pitching the second game, so Friday. We should have Craig ask him that. Are you the smartest man in baseball?
Well, if he's the smartest man in baseball, he's not going to say he is.
He might,
because a guy that because a guy that's the smartest guy in the room
is smart enough to know not to answer it that way.
Right, is smart enough not to tell everybody he's the smartest guy in the room. Because once he tells everybody he's the smartest guy in the room, he's not the smartest guy in the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you sort of, yeah.
0-2. Lee drives it to right. And Hayward is there. And makes the catch. So the Marlins go down in the 7th onto the 8th. In Miami, all the boats are out. Honda 8-6-1, Atlanta on top in a what has to be an emotionally interesting day in the Marlins clubhouse. Saturday, not only Ross Ohlendorf Day, but it's Saturday Spectacular Day on the 28th. Marlins and Padres at 7:10. Arrive early for a pregame party in the West Plaza. Celebrate Venezuelan Heritage Night. And it's presented by the 50 miles per gallon Toyota Prius. After the game, stay in your seats for a fireworks spectacular. On a day where the Marlins parted with Hanley Ramirez, Wade LeBlanc is out of the bullpen, and he takes over.
Hanley on his way to St. Louis tonight. They take on the Dodgers. So Hanley will match up against a guy he's seen a number of times, Kyle Loesch.
Hayward gets into that one, drives it to left. Back goes Morrison, and that ball's gone. Jason Hayward, an opposite field homer, his 15th. And the Braves make it 7-1.
With Braves hit their third home run of the game. Bourne hit one. Francisco. So the three left-handed hitters now have homered for Atlanta. Out over the plate. This is a pitch that Hayward didn't hit that well in that direction last year. Pulled off a lot of stuff that drives that ball into the Marlins bullpen.
That a Clevelander home run. Here's McCann now. LeBlanc with a breaking ball for a strike. For Wade LeBlanc, that's the first home run that he's given up This is his 9th appearance.
Yeah, unfortunately for LeBlanc, he came in the ball game last night. He was tagged with the loss. Gave up a couple of hits, just one run, but it was the winning run for Atlanta.
Two balls, two strikes. Big high fly ball. Peterson sees it and squeezes it. Toyota trend. Braves road record tied for first in the National League with the Nationals, naturally. Washington has a 5-2 lead. Actually, that's a final now. Washington has defeated the Mets 5-2. Steven Strasburg 11-4. Tyler Clippard picks up the save. Phillies have a 5-2 lead at home against Milwaukee in the 6th. Freeman lifts that ball foul and out of play.
Certainly a lot of excitement around the Hamels household in Philadelphia. But, you know, it leaves it open for questions. What direction are the Phillies going to go?
Solano makes a nice play on Freeman. Well, people felt that if Hamels was going to leave as a free agent, you'd still have Halladay and Lee. Now that Hamels has signed for huge money, can the Phillies afford to keep Cliff Lee? The Texas Rangers have inquired, and I think everybody was kind of waiting to see if Hamels was coming or going.
Yeah, and I think the Phillies, if they have plans on moving Lee, had to get that deal done. Because let's say they had moved Cliff Lee before that deal was done. Now all of a sudden Hamels is really in the driver's seat.
Well, he looked like he was pretty much
he was pretty much in there anyway.
He was in a chauffeured limo is what he was in. If you can get a 6-year $144 million contract, then you're not in the driver's seat.
What are you, about $24 million a year?
Yeah. Morrison is there and he makes the catch. Jason Hayward with a home run, and the Braves are up now 7-1. App for your iPhone, iPad, Android, and Windows Mobile. Get live audio, pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text AT to 31826 or visit Marlins.com for details. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini on a real odd day in Marlins history. Hanley Ramirez being traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a couple of pitchers. In front of a sellout with camp day here, over 36,000 when this thing started. And yet the Marlins came out, seemingly did a lot of things right at the start. A lot of base runners, 7 stolen bases, walked 7 times, but could not get a key hit with a runner in scoring position, and the Braves have overwhelmed them. Morrison rolls it out to second, and he's thrown out. And the guy that's had the best... The guy that's had the best offensive game is Justin Ruggiano. And he comes up now. He's had a pair of doubles and has flied out.
Now Ruggiano has extended his hitting streak 7 games. He's made a couple of nice catches in center field.
Medlin at the knees. He's out in front 0-2. Foul back to the screen. If the Braves go on and win this ball game,
there are some oddities.
Oh, tremendously with Tommy Hanson. You got everybody thinking, when's the last time a pitcher has walked 7, given up 7 stolen bases, struck out 7, and still won a game?
The last pitcher to do that, Rich, was a Hall of Famer.
And you think, okay, that Hall of Famer, Seaver, Carlton, Gibson.
You've got to go back to 1936. Bob Feller.
Ruggiano swings and misses, and he strikes out. So Bob Feller did it, huh?
Yeah.
Marlins Live, brought to you by Checkers after the game. We'll turn it over to Craig and Cliff and let them carry the mail the rest of the day. Look, see, they're Cliff is getting body painted right now at the Clevelander.
Right now they're in their war room collecting their thoughts. Of course, I think the war room's at the Budweiser balcony bar.
Bonifacio lines it into the seats. Now Feller threw 100 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, that was back in the day. They didn't have radar guns, but supposedly he threw close to that.
I've seen the black and white movie tone footage of how they measured it. They measured it with a guy on a motorcycle that was going 100 miles an hour, and Feller tried to release his pitch just as the guy drove by. And that's how they measured to see if he was throwing 100 or not. And they say he threw 100. Bonifacio taps out. It's come to that, hasn't it? 7-1 Atlanta. Donovan Solano. Little snow cone job. Home Depot doing more on defense. That was early in the ball game. Solano getting to start at third base. When Hanley Ramirez out, it's Solano at third. Greg Dobbs will see some starts, and you never know if the Marlins will turn to the minor leagues for a guy like Donnie Murphy to come up and maybe plug him in the lineup once or twice a week.
You notice watching that again, the number of times, I believe it was 3 times, that Solano took his eye off the ball to see where he was and who else was starting to surround that pop fly. That's a lot of concentration.
Our box score brought to you by Kendall Toyota and West Kendall Toyota. 7-1. Atlanta on top. Here's Constanza. And Edward Mujica is on the mound. Mujica becomes the 4th to work for Miami. Ricky Nolasco 5 1/3, 8 hits, 6 runs. Dan Jennings an inning and 2/3, no runs. Wade LeBlanc gave up the Jason Hayward homer in his inning. And here's Mujica.
The Pirates, Rich, salvaged one of the games in that series against the Cubs, beating Chicago, beating Ryan Dempster today, 3-2.
Constanza swings and misses. And he strikes out. One out for Paul Janisch. Braves general manager Frank Wren, though not completely ruling out the possibility of adding Ryan Dempster, said today that the Braves have moved on. To right, Peterson on the move, and he makes the catch. And Janisch is out number 2. So the Braves are going to start looking for starting pitching from other places. Zach Greinke, I guess, is the biggest fish in the pond, with Dempster limited his movement. Hamels signing his deal.
Yeah, I guess Garza is still out there, Matt Garza. Wandy Rodriguez is gone now. He's in Pittsburgh.
Eric Hinsky making a special guest appearance in the 9th inning.
Now, what a terrific 3 innings from Medlin.
Yeah, Medlin looks like he's getting back into form. He was nasty before the elbow injury. Marlins saw plenty of him. With the shift, Solano can't handle it, and Hinsky is aboard in what probably will be an error on the third baseman, E5.
Tough error. Ball was hit hard, but he initially had it. Even if he had picked it up, he may have gotten the error on the mishandle, not here, but here. He still had time. So an error charged to Solano.
Michael Bourne now. Bourne has certainly had an active and productive series, and this the Warren Henry drive of the game. That a 2-run homer that came in the 5th. Juan Francisco had hit a 2-run homer in the 4th against Nolasco, and those were the 2 biggest swings against Nolasco on the day. Morrison towards the line, and he settles under it and makes the catch. Mujica, a scoreless night, but Miami's down to their last 3 outs and down 7-1. Toyota and West Kendall Toyota, bringing you tonight's Wednesday night showdown. By AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. By Checkers, feast on. And by Infinity, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. Inside Marlins Park, sellout crowd of over 36,000. And they have seen the Atlanta Braves for 8.5 innings take advantage of the Marlins' inability to get a hit early and then pound the Marlins from the middle innings on. Johnny Venters arrives.
This is a guy that Freddie Gonzalez certainly wants to get right as they approach the final month and start thinking about playoffs, if in fact the Braves get there. Venters, over the last couple of years, has been pretty much unhittable, but he's had some elbow problems this year, just off the DL, had an elbow impingement, and he hasn't been quite as effective as he was the last 2 years.
Brian Peterson bounces out, and here comes Brett Hayes. Hayes an 0 for 3, and all of the 3 have been strikeout swinging. Venters gets a strike, and it's 0-1. The Braves move on. The Marlins the off day, and the Padres here for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. Marlins and Braves, a 4-game series in Atlanta starting on Monday of next week. The Braves will go home, and before the Marlins get there, the Phillies will be there for the weekend. And Hayes swings and misses. 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. A forgettable day for Brett Hayes.
Boy, a tough day for the Marlins backup catcher.
And Venters putting the finishing touches on a win that will push the Braves to 54-44. And with Washington's win, it'll keep Atlanta within 4.5 games of the top spot in the East. Of course, if you're the Braves, you know, you'll never get managers or executives or players to say it. The Braves immediately looking at the team above them, Washington. But I think in this trading deadline, and as you get in this last week, general managers and teams have to react to other wild card contenders. I mean, the Braves have to look and see what the Dodgers have done today. They have to look and see what the Pirates have done with Wandy Rodriguez. You can't just react to your own division. You've got to look and see what the teams around you in the wild card standings have done as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure Freddie not thinking that right now.
No.
That's the guys above him, the Frank Wrens, to consider that. You're absolutely right, especially with that extra wild card this year.
No one will admit it, and no one should admit it. You try to win the division first, but
one of the problems, and you could see this happen this year, you know, that extra wild card's a 1-game playoff, and you hate to get rid of a lot of people or some key prospects to get one guy and play in that one wild card game and lose.
Austin Kearns is rung up, and so ends a dismal day for the Marlins against the Braves. Johnny Venters with the strikeout, and Atlanta takes the series. They win 2 of 3 against Miami, and the Marlins and Braves will meet again on Monday in Atlanta for a 4-game series. There's the final. The Marlins, despite 7 stolen bases, drawing 7 walks from the starter Tommy Hanson, get just 1 run. 7-1 is the final.